Hey everybody, it's Keegan here. I'm back with another video for you guys. And for today's video, I'm bringing you guys my top 10 least favorite movies of 2023. Now, a little while ago, I did a video on my top 12 favorite movies of 2023. And now it's time to go over my least favorite movies from 2023. But before we get started, there's a couple things we need to go through before we get started. First of all, I didn't see too many bad movies in 2023. And not every single movie on this list is necessarily bad. Some of them are okay, some of them are meh, and others are just terrible. So not every movie on this list is necessarily bad. And there are movies that are not on this list, like The Flash, 65, Ghosted, and a couple of others that are not on this list. Mostly because I haven't seen them, and I don't have any interest on ever seeing them, especially The Flash, because that movie looks like dog shit. Another thing is that not every movie on this list has been reviewed. Some of them have been reviewed, and some of them haven't. And I think lastly, this is my list of movies that were my least favorite from 2023. So some of you might agree with me, some of you might disagree with me, and that's fine. We're all entitled to our own opinions. It's like what the dude said in the Big Lebowski. That's like your opinion, man. So yeah. And I know there's one movie on this list that's probably going to piss off some of you that it's on this list, but I'll point out which one it is when we get to it. But other than that, I think that's about it. So let's not waste any more time, and let's go over my top 10 least favorite movies of 2023. Now, like my favorite movies of 2023 video, we're actually going to be starting off with my honorable mentions. Well, dishonorable mentions. And then we'll get on to the real deal. I actually only have 2 dishonorable mentions this time, so we'll get by this very quickly. So the first of my dishonorable mentions is Maestro, the Bradley Cooper directed film. I did not like this movie at all. It had its moments, but I honestly thought this was just Oscar bait dog shit that somehow won a Best Picture nomination when there were other movies that should have took its place, like The Iron Claw, for example. But thank God this movie did not win Best Picture. But again, I did not like this one at all. And the last one for my dishonorable mentions is Skinamarink. And this one's not on my list for 2 reasons. Number one, this movie technically did come out in 2022. Well, in late 2022. And secondly, I honestly didn't hate this movie like most people did. I liked the atmosphere, and Al will say it was creepy at times. And I could totally see what the director was trying to do with this movie. But in the end, this movie just was not for me. But I didn't hate this one like most people did. But again, it just wasn't for me. So therefore, I've decided to not include this one on the list. Anyways, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get on to the real deal. These are my top 10 least favorite movies of 2023.
Number 10.
So, starting off this list at number 10 is Anyone But You. I didn't hate this one like some of the other movies on this list, but this was one that I didn't particularly like either way. But I didn't hate it. I thought this one was okay. It had its moments, and it did have a few parts that were kind of funny. And I thought Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney were good in the film, and I thought they had a decent chemistry. But the main problem I have with this movie is that I didn't really find it all that funny, to be honest. Other than that, there were a few times where it made me chuckle a little bit. But overall, I didn't really find this movie all that funny. But it's not the worst film I've ever seen. There are far better romantic comedies out there. I actually didn't really plan on seeing this one in theaters, but there wasn't a lot playing in my area when I went to go see it. So out of pure boredom, I decided, why not? It's not the worst movie on the list, but it is a pretty weak film. But there are better romantic comedies out there, but this one just wasn't for me, I guess. So I decided to just put this one at number 10.
Number 9.
Coming in at number 9 is Leave the World Behind. Now, this movie did have an interesting premise. You basically got a family of 4 who rent out a house for the weekend just to get away from the city and just chill by the beach. But then the getaway turns into a nightmare when the United States is attacked by a cyber attack, and then the family is trying to survive and figure out what's going on and who is responsible for the cyber attack. And that premise alone sounded pretty interesting. And in fact, this movie was actually based on a novel of the same name, which I've never read, but maybe someday I'll give it a read. But unfortunately, the movie itself really wasn't all that good. In fact, it was rather mediocre in my opinion. The writing wasn't very good, and it left a lot of plot holes that were not resolved. And the writing, well, the characters were unlikable, and a lot of the dialogue didn't feel realistic. It just didn't feel like how a normal person would talk. It was just like, what in the hell is this dialogue? Although not the worst dialogue I've heard, but it still was pretty cheesy. And on top of that, it has one of the worst endings I have ever seen in a movie. It just ends right there when it feels like there's still 30 or 40 minutes left of the movie. But no, they just end it out of the blue. God, I just hate it when movies just abruptly end like that. But this is definitely one of the worst cases of a movie just abruptly ending right on the spot. It was just like, are you kidding me? And there's a lot of plot holes too to make it worse. But it's not the worst movie I've seen, but the writing was pretty, well, I wouldn't say worse, but it was kind of bad. But man, this movie was just mediocre at best, I'll just say that. But despite the interesting promise, the execution was anything but good. It just wasn't very good at all.
Number 8.
Coming in at number 8 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now, let me be the first to say, I didn't hate Dial of Destiny like most people did. I thought this one was alright, but I will say it is probably the worst film in the franchise, but I personally didn't hate it like most people did. It did have its moments, and there were a couple things that I liked about it, like I loved the first 20 or so minutes, like the big flashback at the beginning. I thought that part was like the best part of the whole movie. I thought Harrison Ford was doing his best job in the movie. And Mads Mikkelsen I thought was a good choice for casting as the villain, and I thought the villain was actually pretty good too. And I do like they brought back Sala and Marion from the previous films back in this movie. But I really wish they could have done more with those characters. Like, for example, Marion doesn't appear until the very end of the movie, like in the very final scene. And Sala is only in the movie twice. He appears first as a cab driver when he's driving Indiana Jones to the airport. And then he appears again at the end of the film. But they could have done better with those characters. But after the 20-minute mark, the movie slowly went downhill for me. But I like some of the action sequences. They were pretty good. But the writing could have been a lot better done, in my opinion. And I thought the time travel scene towards the end was a bit overkill, in my opinion. And, like, some of the new characters could have been developed better. And I thought the scene when Indiana Jones gets punched in the face towards the end and the screen just cuts to black, I thought that part was just really stupid. And I remember when I saw the movie in theaters, everyone in the theater was laughing. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but I thought it was really stupid. But in the end, I thought Dial of Destiny was okay. It wasn't as bad as a lot of people said it was, but it is definitely the weakest film in the franchise. Weaker than Crystal Skull, which I honestly thought Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was okay. I honestly thought it was better than this movie. But I think we can all agree that The Last Crusade should have been the last Indiana Jones movie. And I think that's the true ending to the franchise. But let's just hope they don't make any more Indiana Jones movies after this one. I have a feeling that they won't, but let's just hope that they won't.
Number 7.
At number 7, it's Cocaine Bear. I honestly kind of forgot that I even watched this one. I was going through my list of movies that I watched in 2023, and then I saw this on the list. I'm like, oh, I did see that one. But Cocaine Bear, I'm sure you get what the premise is about. You got a bear who gets high off cocaine that was from a drug dealer's airdrop that went the wrong way and landed into the wrong hands. In this case, the wrong paws. And now the bear is high as shit, going around killing people. And, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. And as silly as the premise may sound, I thought it sounded decent. So I went ahead and checked it out. And unfortunately, the film itself wasn't all that great. Like, it did have its moments that were kind of funny, but it wasn't too funny. But I thought it was fairly funny at times, but not really. And the kills weren't all that brutal. Like, they were kind of tame, honestly. They could have done a little better with some of the gore in the film. And I will say, it did have a pretty good cast. It's got Keri Russell, Margaret Martindale, who you might both know from the TV show The Americans. They're both in it. It's also got Isaiah Whitlock Jr., and it's even got the late Ray Liotta in one of his last movies. Rest in peace, by the way. But unfortunately, the movie itself isn't all that great. It's pretty forgettable. Like, it's silly, yes, but it could have been a lot better. But it's not bad, but it's definitely not something I'm ever gonna watch again. And I kind of forgot about it after I saw it in theaters until I found it on my list of movies that I watched. Again, Cocaine Bear, not bad, not great, just meh, okay, I guess. So, yeah, that's why it's at number 7.
Number 6.
Alright, number 6. Now, before I reveal what's at number 6, I want to have a few words. Now, remember at the start of the video when I said that there is one movie that's on this list that a lot of you are probably going to be pissed off at me for putting on the list? Well, this is that movie. And just hear me out before I reveal it. I really, really wanted to like this movie, and believe me, I really wanted to like it, but unfortunately, I was really disappointed with it, and I ended up not liking it at all. And I know this is a movie that a lot of people like, and a lot of people don't like. It's a movie that's got mixed reactions. But this was one that I really, really wanted to like, but I did not like it at all. And I kind of had a hard time putting it on my list, but I decided to put it in my list anyways. And at number 6, Saltburn. Yep, Saltburn is number 6. Now, it's kind of a shame that I put this on my list because there was a lot of aspects in this movie that I really liked. I really liked the cinematography, I really liked the visuals, and I really liked the soundtrack too, and I thought the music choices were really good too. It fits well with the 2000s, which is where this movie takes place in. And I especially thought that everyone in the cast did a really good job in their performances, including Rosamund Pike, Barry Keoghan, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, and Jacob Elordi, or however you pronounce his last name. I thought they were all really good in this movie. But I didn't like the writing for this movie. Like, the writing feels somewhat similar to another movie called The Talented Mr. Ripley, which at the time when I saw Saltburn in theaters, I haven't watched The Talented Mr. Ripley yet at the time when I saw Saltburn in theaters, so I had no idea that it was very similar to The Talented Mr. Ripley until months later. And I find a lot of the shocking parts were really unnecessary, like the bathtub scene, the quote vampire scene, which if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what scene I'm talking about. And the grave scene where he humps the grave, which I'll admit that part was kind of funny, but was all that shocking stuff really necessary? I disagree. I thought it was really unnecessary. And by the end, the big reveal that happens at the end, which I'm not going to spoil it, I'm like, are you kidding me? That's it? The dude was a psycho the whole time? wow. But yeah, like all the other aspects in this movie was good, but just the writing and stuff just was not very good. But I really wanted to like this movie, but in the end, I really didn't like Saltburn at all. Like, I really wanted to like it, but I'm sorry, I did not like it at all. And I can understand people who liked it, but me, I hated it. I just did not like Saltburn at all. And I am done talking about this movie. So Saltburn is at number 6.
Number 5.
At number 5, it's Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Now, we're not going to talk about this one for long because it's pretty boring. And there's actually two things I'd like to say before we start. First of all, I actually watched this one and Part 2 over the past weekend, so I actually watched this one very recently. And second, I'm not really a fan of Zack Snyder. I think Zack Snyder is an overrated, somewhat of a pretentious hack of a director, but he does have a few good movies, like 300 and Watchmen, for example. I still haven't seen Dawn of the Dead yet, though. But overall, I think Zack Snyder is overrated. So I didn't really have much expectations for this movie, especially a lot of people seem to shit on this one. Like, it is bad, but I thought it was really boring, uninspired, and just really not interesting. I know this movie was supposed to be a Star Wars movie because the script supposedly was originally going to be a Star Wars movie, but I guess Zack Snyder's idea was rejected, so he decided to make this his own Star Wars-like movie. And it just was not very good at all. It was boring, it was repetitive, the dialogue was not very well written at all, and it tries to be so much like Star Wars, but it's really not that good at all. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's as bad as most people said it was, but it was pretty boring to say the least. But I will say Part 2 was shit. And I would put Part 2 on this list if it wasn't released in 2024, because this movie was released in late 2023. But I will put Part 2 on my list of my least favorite movies of 2024. But yeah, all in all, you're really not missing much. I don't really recommend Rebel Moon unless you're somewhat of a diehard Zack Snyder fan. I don't even remember what the hell even happened in this movie. I don't even remember any of the characters' names or anything. It's just that forgettable of a movie.
Number 4.
Now we start getting into the movies that I really hated. So at number 4 is The Exorcist Believer. Now, when I originally reviewed this movie after I saw it in theaters back in October, I thought it was okay. But after thinking about it for a while, this movie was a piece of shit. Now, I'll admit, the first half of this movie was fine. Like, it felt like a different version of The Exorcist, other than it's just a demon possessing two girls. Like, I thought the first half was okay, but then the rest of the film just got stupid. Like, when they had all the different religions come together to fight off against the demons that were possessing the two girls, I thought it was just really, really stupid. Especially the line that the father of one of the girls literally says, "I choose you, Catherine. I choose you." Like it's Pokemon or something. Like, are you kidding me? I couldn't help but laugh when I saw that in the theater. And Ellen Burstyn's appearance in the movie, who for those who don't know was in the original Exorcist film, that scene was just wasted. And the part where she says they wouldn't let her in with Reagan in the first movie because of the quote patriarchy was just stupid. Like, really? But yeah, other than that, this movie was just a piece of shit and a completely unnecessary film. Just watch the original Exorcist and Exorcist 3, which Exorcist 3 is the only sequel that matters. And just avoid this one at all costs. And I know this movie was supposed to be part of a trilogy, which is currently in limbo. Kind of similar to what David Gordon Green did with his Halloween trilogy, which I haven't seen, but I heard they weren't all that good. those Halloween movies aren't really all that good from what I hear. And actually, David Gordon Green did direct this one, but he's not going to be directing the other two sequels because I think they might be getting another director to work on it. Either way, I will say I don't have any hope for the other two sequels because this movie did so bad. And there's actually no reason anyone should ever watch Believer. This movie was a piece of shit. And if they do somehow make the sequels to this trilogy, I don't expect either of them to be any better. Or maybe they will, but I doubt it.
Number 3.
Coming in at number 3 is Five Nights at Freddy's. To be fair, I was never really a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. It wasn't really my cup of tea, but I could totally understand why it was so popular with people, mostly with kids and youngsters. It was mostly popular with that demographic. But that didn't stop me from seeing this movie in theaters out of pure curiosity. And I have to say, this movie is pretty awful. Like, the writing is terrible, especially with the dialogue. The story is all over the place, and the movie has no idea what it wants to be. It has no idea whether it wants to be a horror movie, a court drama, or even just a fun little family-friendly film with some scenes in the film. There's this big custody case that happens in the film that was completely unnecessary, which, well, I guess they had to come up with something for the daytime parts of the film when they're not in the pizzeria or whatever it's called. But even with that, the movie was just bad. And the lack of gore and blood made a lot less to be desired, considering the film's PG-13 rating, which, to be fair, kind of makes sense because with the PG-13 rating, like, because of the demographic of the franchise being mostly kids and youngsters. But on all sides, like, this movie failed as a horror movie and in general was just a really, really awful film. Like, I hated this movie. It was just so bad. And of course, the movie did so well in the box office, and it's currently Blumhouse's highest grossing film of all time currently. Which, by the way, Blumhouse's movies as of lately have been trash, including this and Exorcist Believer. It's not surprising that there will be a sequel to this movie coming out in 2025. Will I check it out? Probably not, but maybe. I don't expect it to be any good than this piece of shit movie. But other than that, I hated Five Nights at Freddy's, and I have no desire in ever checking it out again. So yeah, moving on.
Number 2.
Coming in at number 2 is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And surprisingly, I know a lot of you are probably shocked that this is not at number 1. Well, like, I mean, come on. I'm pretty sure this movie was just made bad on purpose. I unfortunately saw this one in theaters when it was playing in theaters because it had a very limited run. But I still saw it in theaters anyways. Like, I was expecting it to be somewhat entertaining and shitty at the same time. Unfortunately, that was not the case with this movie. Like, this movie was just plain bad. The acting was awful. It was poorly written. And none of the kills were even entertaining either. Like, not one kill in this movie was even remotely entertaining. But I will say, the set designs were actually pretty decent for the film's budget. And the killer Piglet and the killer Winnie the Pooh looked alright, I guess. But this movie was just plain trash. Like, I know this movie's at number 1 on a lot of people's lists, but when I saw this film in theaters and I walked out, like, I mean, it's definitely one of the worst films from last year, but, like, I mean, like, come on. At number 1, it's too easy. But, yeah. I haven't seen the sequel, and I am in no rush to ever watching the sequel anytime soon. But I will say, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, it's just plain bad. That's all there is to say about it.
Number 1.
Finally, at number 1, it's Strays. Oh my god, I hated this movie. Like, I knew this movie was gonna be bad from the trailer. Like, the trailer was not funny at all. I thought it looked really stupid by the trailer. And then I finally watched the movie itself, not in theaters, but I watched it on Prime Video. And I was thinking, like, the trailer looked stupid, but there's got to be at least something funny about this movie, like maybe one or two laughs. But I was very much mistaken. This movie was not funny at all, and it's probably one of the most unfunny films I've seen in my life. Like, god damn, this was not funny. They could have done so much better with this movie, other than just the talking dogs cussing and all that. Like that's just not funny. Like, do something funny with the movie for once. Like, hearing a dog say fuck, shit, cock, and all those other words, like saying it, like, it's just not funny. It's just stupid. And I can understand that people think that this movie was funny, but god damn, I don't get how people find this funny. Like, this was just stupid. Hell, I thought Freddy Got Fingered was stupid. Well, although I didn't like that movie, I thought that movie was funny at times for that movie being stupid. But this was stupid and not funny at all. And I actually fast forward through it because I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, this movie was just so bad, man. Like, fuck, it was one of the most annoying movies I've seen in my life. And I have no desire on ever checking it out again. And I hope they don't do a sequel to it. But if they do, then whatever. I'm never going to watch it. So yeah, therefore, Strays is my least favorite film of 2023. Well, guys, that's about it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you would like to see my top 12 favorite films of 2023 video, I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. And what are your least favorite movies of 2023? Let me know in the comment section below. But if you guys enjoyed the video, as always, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment below, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share the video with your friends. And more videos will be coming out soon. But anyways, you guys, until next time, this is Keegan Shepard signing off. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. And yeah, take care, everybody. Peace out. Bye-bye.